So this review is actually a first, a first because this is the first time I've ever read anything from this comic line, this comic line, and yeah, it's not that I never had any intention to. It was never really. I was never really like, oh, okay, it's there. But I was never like, oh, maybe I should pick it up. But after reading this, I was like, maybe I should pay attention more to this line. And that line is Zenoscope, or Zenscope. I can't remember the proper pronunciation, I apologize. My head really hurts, so, yeah. And actually, I want to thank my friend, the Mount Vernon kid. Chris, if you're listening, thank you for once again sending not only this, but also, once again, Son of Shaolin to me. And yeah, I wanted to do a review of this, because like I said, this is the first time I've ever read anything from Zenscope. And that is Robin Hood Origins. Robin Hood is one of the characters from Zenscope. Now, if you don't know what Zenscope is this big shared universe with fantasy characters. Think of it kind of like Once Upon a Time. It's very much like Once Upon a Time, only it's a lot more violent and a lot more sexualized, because, yeah, if you've probably seen throughout the internet, like, images, like, covers of their comics, and, yeah. Now, I would like to address that in this comic, there isn't really a lot of gratuitous, it's nothing gratuitous, but it's not for kids either. There's no, like, real, you know, shall we say, skin on skin, shall we say. There's none of that, really, but it is uber violent. And once again, like I said, this is the first time I've ever read anything from them, and yeah, since this is a big shared universe, Zenscope has this big thing with, like, Wonderland's a world, that was destroyed by the Jabberwock, several other places as well, and this is part of it in a world called Mist, where Robin Hood once came from, but she was brought to Earth for safekeeping because she is a child of darkness, apparently. And Robin Locksley, that's her real name, she's grown up in foster care after her foster mother died. She's been kind of living on through foster home to foster home in this town where this family called the Kings, father and son, the Kings, rule this town, and Kale King, the son of the duo, is a complete psychotic who crashed into her after she stole his car and cut out her eye and left her for dead, and the cops did nothing about it. Because once again, this town is ruled by them. And about that same time, she's brought back to her homeworld, the homeworld of Mist, where she becomes Robin Hood to protect the innocent. And it's more like, yeah, I just want to kill these people. It's very much, if you enjoyed, let me say this, if you really enjoyed Arrow Season 1, you're probably going to enjoy Robin Hood. It is, as I read this comic, it feels so much like the first season of Arrow. Because, yeah, she's killing people or horribly maiming them. The word arrow to the knee takes a whole other meaning in this comic, I should probably mention. Robin herself is a very likable character. She really acknowledges that she's not a good person, and she's doing all of this for all the wrong reasons, but it's more like, if I can get I'll do whatever it takes as long as I get my revenge. It's not like, oh, after I killed those people, I felt bad. Revenge doesn't solve anything. She's more like, I felt like that for about 2 seconds, then I remembered, oh yeah, they were horrible dicks, and I straight up fucking put an arrow through their face. I'm very at peace with that. So, yeah, Robin in that regard is pretty interesting. She's very self-aware that what she's doing is completely and horribly despicable, and she gives no fucks about it. Among other things, it does follow a lot of the Robin Hood origin, and it does take a few different turns, but it's generally the same legend you've seen before. You do see Maid Marian in here, but she doesn't really play a part other than getting Robin home. And, yeah, it's really the only time you ever see Marian. The real folk, even the Merry Men don't get a lot in here. I mean, we get some stuff from Will Scarlet and Little John. I don't want to spoil anything with them, but it does feel, this comic is like Origins is a 5-part miniseries, and they keep saying like, oh, I've been out in the woods for months, and I was like, really? It doesn't feel like a passage of time. The other thing is that while, once again, like, Zenescope is known for showing, like, having centerfolds, characters that look like centerfolds in Playboy, it's not really as over the top in here. As I've actually read some comics from, like, skimmed through some of their old other comics, like Wonderland, and I was like, man, this just really goes out of control with it sometimes. But here it's very controlled. Even Robyn's costume is, Robyn's costume is not really, well, it's kind of sexualized, but it's not, like, overtly sexualized. And I think, if I remember right, in the comic she even says, yeah, I wear this to distract people. Even when she comes back, it's more like it's tactical. Like, it doesn't feel like it's trying to be like, ooh, I'm sexy. It's more like, no, I'm wearing this because it's light and it's tactical. It gives more of that feel to it. And again, it reminded me so much of, of Arrow. Like, the costume looked like a female version of the Arrow costume from, well, the CW show. I also forgot to mention that this comic is written by Pat Shard, I believe that's how you say his name, and drawn by Larry Watts. Total 6 minutes. God damn, it's nearly 7 minutes into the review, and you totally forgot to talk about the writer of this comic. God damn it, Zilla, get your shit together. Just get your shit together, man. But yeah, like I said, the costume feels more tactical than it is more like, shall we say, a little sexualized. It does give more of that feeling, at least for me, at least. This comic is also, like I said earlier, not for little kids. This is more like for young adults because it's a very violent comic. Like, people die horrible. Death by arrow is horrible in this comic. The artwork is pretty good. It's serviceable. I will say that some of the facial expressions get a little wonky at times, but it doesn't get too distracting. All in all, for the first time I've ever, like, read through a Zenescope, I cannot pronounce that name, for that comic line. For the first time reading Zenescope, I'm like, yeah, this was pretty good. I had no problem with it. It's definitely you're definitely going to, need to have a taste for, like, violence, and again, if you enjoyed Arrow Season 1, and this is the best way to describe it. This comic is pretty much Arrow and Once Upon a Time mashed together. That is pretty much this comic right here. If CW's first season of Arrow crossed over, mishmashed with Once Upon a Time, you get this book. So, yeah, all in all, not bad. So, once again, hope you all enjoyed this review, and I will see you guys later.